بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اتبع هداه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد. Let's continue our session today for the training of the free Tajweed class. Today, inshallah, we're going to resume the class that will be same thing we did last time. We're going to be discussing one of the rules of Tajweed. And at the end of the class, we're going to, inshallah, let any one of you in the meeting with me here on Zoom read by himself and practice these rules that we are going to talk about, inshallah. And let's get started. So first thing we would like to do, of course, is reviewing the things we talked about last time. And quickly, let's discuss this. The first thing we mentioned last time, we talked about the heavy and the light letters in the Arabic language. We said that every letter we read in our reading of the Arabic alphabet, it can be either a heavy letter or it also could be a light letter. And to understand how this works, we have to know which letters are heavy and which letters are light. We said that we have 7 letters in the Arabic language who are always heavy. They are Kha, Sad, Dad, Ghain, Ta, Qaf, and Dha. And for the rest of the Arabic letters, they are always light. So any letter not in this group of these 7 letters is going to be light. For example, Mim, Noon, Ha, Waw, Dal, Ra, and so on. And we talked about there's an exception for 2 letters, and these are Ra and Lam. When it comes to them being heavy or light, it depends on actually the haraka they have. The haraka means the vowel that they have, which can be either a fatha, a kasra, a dhamma, a sukoon, and so on. We said that if the vowel on the ra, if it's a fatha, or if it is a dhamma, in this case it's gonna be a heavy ra. And in case if we found that there is a kasra on the ra, so we have a ra with kasra, in this case we will consider it a light ra. And we practiced some examples for this. We noticed the different sound that we hear every time we read ra. If it's a heavy ra, we notice that the sound is like ra, ru, but when it is light, the sound is like ri, which is a light sound. We talked about in case if we have sukoon, if we have ra with sukoon, then ra will follow the vowel on the letter before it. If the letter before ra has a fatha or a dhamma, it's going to be heavy. If it has a kasra, it's going to be light. We also talked about the letter lam. We said that it is always light except in 2 words, and these 2 words are Allah and Allahumma. The word Allah and Allahumma, they have lam in the middle. This lam is the only lam that can be heavy. Any other lam we read in the Arabic language, even in the Quran, should always be light. So we're gonna say it like la, di, lu. But when it comes to the word Allah, it can be heavy, and that depends on the haraka, on the letter before the word Allah. If it's fatha, if it is a dhamma, then we have the word Allah, a heavy lam, not Allah. Same thing, Allahumma, and not Allahumma. And we said also, if it has a kasra on the letter before it, then the word Allah is going to be light. So we say illah. We say Bismillah and not Bismi Allah. That wouldn't work. We talked about also the letters of qalqala. We said that we have something, one of the rules of tajweed for reading Quran. We have 5 letters. They are in the phrase qutubu, jaddin. This phrase has for us all the words of the qalqala, I mean all the letters of the qalqala that we have to vibrate when they have sukoon on them. So we have to intentionally make a vibration sound when we say them when they have sukoon on them. We also mentioned like kind of an introduction to the rules of noon sakina and tanween. We talked about what is a noon sakina. So noon sakina is actually going to be our topic today, what tanween. We talked about what is a noon sakina and what is a tanween, and quickly, let's review this. We said that the noon that we can find while we are reading in Quran that has a sukoon on it is considered to be a noon sakina. And the noon that has nothing on it at all is also considered to be a noon sakina. we apply same rules to it, apply to the noon that has sukoon on it that we read in the Quran. Same rules we're going to apply, which we're going to talk about later. Same rules we are going to apply to noon sakina is also applied to tanween. Tanween is having the double fatha, the double kasra, the double dhamma at the end of nouns in Arabic. And when we read this tanween, what we are going to do, we are going to apply same rules we apply to noon sakina. We're going to apply it also to the tanween while we are reading this. And therefore, what we have is four rules which we will discuss in much more detail today. They are called al-izhar, that is the name of the first rule. What we have also is a rule called al-idgham. That is the second rule. Third one is called al-iqlab. And last one is called al-ikhfa. What are these things? What are
So
al-idhar,
these last four
al-idgham?
that you mentioned, sir. Hello, excuse me, sir.
Mhm.
This last four that you mentioned, Izhar, Al-Qalab, Idgham, and Ikhfa. This is related to Nun Sakin and Tanween also, or they are separate?
Yes, so this is actually same. These rules is what we apply to Nun Sakin and Tanween, which we will talk about in much more detail, and we will understand what does it mean. So al-idhar means something we are going to do to Nun Sakina while we are reading it. Also Tanween, it means something. It means something we have to do to the Tanween, same thing we do to the Nun Sakina. So al-idhar, something we're gonna do to both. Al-idgham, same thing, al-iqlab and al-ikhfa. But they have, of course, different sounds, which we will discuss in much more detail today. We will understand how this works and what does all of this mean. And before we get into this, do you have any questions about things we studied last time? So this was like basically a quick summary of all what we had before and all what we talked about before. So do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you. Barakallahu fi. All right, so let's get into our today lesson. 1 second. All right, so over here in front of us, it's going to show us on the screen what we have been talking about just now. What is a noon sakina? What is a tanween? And that's what we have over here. We can see here it says the noon sakina is the noon that has no haraka on it, or it have sukoon. Like this noon here, it has nothing. This noon right here has a sukoon on it. That circle represents sukoon. Here is tanween example. We have ba with tanween with fatha, tanween with kasra, tanween with dhamma. Um, I would like also to make sure from you that if you don't understand, if any of these terms are difficult for you, we can talk about it in much more detail. Just would like to make sure that you understand what does all of this mean. Here is the rules that we were mentioning. We said there's al-idhar, al-idgham, al-iqlab, and al-ikhfa. In each one of these rules, we can find there are letters under them that fall into this category, which means when we find noon sakina while we are reading, followed by any of these letters, we are going to apply the rule which corresponds to the group here. So if we found one of these letters right here, like a hamza, a ha, a ayn, a ha, a ghain, a kha, we are going to apply the rule of al-idhar, which we will find out later about what does that mean and what we're going to do. So let's say, for example, we found hamza, then we apply al-izhar. Let's say we found ba, for example. That means we're going to apply al-iqlab. Let's say we found meme, which is right here in al-idgham. That means we are going to apply al-idgham. So there's something called al-idgham we are going to do while we are reading, and let's find out how this actually works. So here, the first rule that we will mention today is something called al-idhar. When do we apply it? It's simple. When we read tanween, of course, or when we read like a nun sakina, there must be a letter after it that we are going to read. That letter that's coming after it would be like one of these. If it's one of these six letters, then we are going to apply the rule of al-izhar. Okay, so if you can read here, we can see that it says the rule al-izhar. It means that nun sakina and tanween must be pronounced clearly without any change. What does this mean? This basically means that when we are going to read this noon while we are reading this in the Quran, we're going to make it normal. We're going to make no change to it. And that's the meaning of al-izhar. It's making it clear, making no change to it. So again, quickly, what is al-izhar? Al-izhar means to make something clear. It means clarity in Arabic, to make no change to something. This is what we have here, which gets applied while we are reading Quran when we read a noon sakinah or a tanween followed by one of these six letters. What are we going to do to the sound of noon or to the sound of tanween? No change. We're going to keep it the same. When does this happen or how does this happen? This happens when we find a noon like this here in the word yan'awna. It's followed by a hamza right here. So what happens to this noon? We're going to make no change to it. We're going to make it normal. We're going to pronounce it normal as we always do. We have yan'awna, yan'awna. So that is a noon. I read it normal. I didn't make no change to it. I just read it as I naturally do without making anything. Same thing here I have the word kufuwan ahad. Kufuwan ahad. I have a tanween followed by hamza. Hamza over here I can see it is one of the six letters of al-izhar. And we're gonna memorize which group has which letters. Like here we're gonna memorize that. Al-izhar, it has hamza, ha, ayn, ha, ghayn, kha. It's easy, of course, if you say it in that quick way. Hamza, ha, ayn, ha, ghayn, kha. That way you have all the letters of al-izhar. Let's look at this word. It says an'amta. We say an'amta, we say anun, an'amta. We make no change to this noon. Why do we do this? Because we have ayn. Ayn is one of the letters of Idhar, so we're gonna make no change to the noon. Let's look here. It says min khayr, min khayr. We have a noon sakina. This noon is followed by letter kha. Kha falls under the category of Idhar, which means we're gonna make no change to the noon. So no change happens to this whole word that we have here. We have here ajrun azim. Ajrun azim. We have a tanween followed by letter ayn. Ayn is one of the letters of Idhar. We're gonna make no change to it and read it normal. The first rule is easy, it's simple. You basically find any of these six letters while you are reading after a tanween or after a nun sakina. Just read the nun sakina or tanween normal without doing any change to it, without making anything. Okay, then we have our second rule for today. This rule is called al-idgham. Al-idgham. What is the meaning of al-idgham? Idgham basically is an Arabic word we of course use here. It means merging two things together or like mixing two things together. What happens when you mix two things together? What you basically get is one thing, but it has the mix that you made, the mix that you did. Like when you mix food, when you mix a drink or something. So that's why you get. You get one thing, one type of food. It has one name, but what you did was adding different things to it. Same thing, what's gonna happen to noon sakina or tanween. So remember that we are talking about noon sakina and tanween and what are the changes that we're gonna do to it. And in this rule, the change that we will do is going to affect the noon itself. It's going to be merged into the next letter that we're going to read after it. How this actually works, let's find out. We have here the word yarmalun. What does that mean? The word yarmalun is an Arabic word. It collects all the letters of idgham for us so we can easily know them. So when we remember the word yarmalun, we remember that we have these six letters in the category of idgham, which means if one of these six letters falls after a noon sakina or after a tanween, then what we're gonna do is applying the rule of idgham to them. What is the meaning of idgham, or how we can apply idgham? Let's find out. First thing we're gonna notice that we have two types for idgham. The first type, it says here idgham with ghunnah. Here we're gonna find that there's something important, a new term, a new word that we can learn, which is something called ghunnah. What is the meaning of the word ghunnah? Ghunnah basically is a special sound we make from our nose when we read sometimes. And it mostly happens with two letters in the Arabic language. These letters are noon and mim. When we say them, and you can even try this, when we say them, we make a special sound from our nose or from our nasal cavity. Like when you say in, so you can feel that there's something in your nose like vibrating or shaking. That something happens naturally. We don't do it, we don't do anything about it. But this time we're gonna do intentionally a ghunna sound, the nasal sound, while we are reading. Let's see how this works. So first we have a type of idgham that we're gonna do, and with this one, we are going to apply the ghunna sound. And in this case that we have right here, we're gonna do also idgham, but this time it is without ghunna. So we're gonna make no sound, no special sound, while we are reading the nun sakina or the tanween. Let's see how this works. So let's talk, of course, first about idgham with ghunna. So what is idgham with ghunnah? We can see that it basically applied when nun sakina or tanween followed by one of these letters, which are ya, nun, mim, and wam. They're also in a word that we can easily remember. This word is an Arabic word, which is yanmu. That's how we can quickly remember things in Tajweed. So yanmu, it has a group of letters for us, and that group of letters represents the letters that we do idgham with. We'll make ghunnah also with it. So idgham with ghunnah, we have the word yanmu. This is an Arabic word that means to grow in Arabic. So how do I do this idgham with ghunnah? Let's read the two steps that can explain to us how this actually works before we start like applying this to the examples that we have in the bottom here. So you need to do two things. First thing that we're gonna do in order to make the idgham with ghunnah rule is gonna be skipping the noon second and tanween and pronounce the next letters to it directly. So let's look at this example to understand basically what we're gonna do. Let's look at this one right here. Let me add tashkil quickly to it so it can be clear. So we have min, that's a noon sakina here, it has a sukoon. Nadir. Nadir. So min nadir, this is the word that we have. If we look over here, we can see there is a noon sakina. And as you know, we can know which rule we're gonna apply by looking at the letter next to the noon, which is this noon over here. Noon is one of the letters of idgham. I remember that we are not talking about a noon with fatha, we're talking about the noon sakina. So that noon with fatha doesn't have any concern to us. It doesn't matter to us the way we read it because we're gonna just say it as normally we do. Our concern when we talk about these rules is about the noon that has sukoon on the top of it. That's the noon sakina. That's the noon that we worry about. We look right here, we can see there's a noon that has a sukoon on the top of it, and it is followed by another noon, which is a normal noon, not a noon sakina. So this one is gonna make us have to follow the two steps here to make al-idgham. First step is skipping this noon sakina. So we're going to skip, we're gonna be making this noon sakina silent. Imagine that it's not there. So that means we're not gonna say min nadir. It's just gonna merge like this meme into the noon after it. That way we're gonna say min like this noon directly here without the first one that we did ignore. That was the first step that we have to do. What is the second step that we're gonna do to read idgham with ghunnah? The second step would be to apply ghunnah sound with the letter after it. So the letter after the noon here is this noon with fatha. So we're gonna apply a ghunnah sound for 2 counts. And the meaning of 2 counts is gonna be like stretching it for like 1 second. we're gonna make it longer than normal. So when we read this phrase that we have right here, we're gonna say min nadir. So I stretched this noon right here. I made it longer so I can make the sound from my nose, which what we call as ghunna. That's idgham with ghunna. First thing, I skipped this noon. It's not there. Second thing I did, ghunna with this noon. That is idgham with ghunna. Min nadir. Min nadir. If this is still difficult, let's read some more examples to understand this better. Here we have يومئذ. This is a word. The ending of it is a tanween with kasra. Same thing we do to the noon sakina as we said we do to the tanween. So we're gonna skip this tanween right here. Are we gonna make this noon we have after it with ghunna? So we are going to say يومئذ ناعمة. يومئذ ناعمة. So what I said was يومئذ. I made the ghunna sound from my nose when I said this noon right here. Let's look at this example too. We say here رحيم ودود. رحيم ودود. If you can notice that I didn't say this tanween. I did not say رحيم ودود. I didn't do this. Why? Because I skipped this tanween here. So I say rahimu and then I move to the wow. Rahimu. While I'm saying the wow, then what I'm going to do will be making the ghunna sound. Rahimu wadud. You can try this with me, like while you are muting the microphone. Try that yourself so you can feel how this actually works. First example was يومئذ ناعمة. رحيم ودود. What we have also here is قول. There's a tanween. This tanween is followed by a meme. This meme, one of the letters of idgham with ghunna. So what we will say will be قول معروف. قول معروف. Let's try another example here. من يقول. So what we will naturally would say in an example like this would be من يقول. من يقول, like this. That's what we will naturally do. But because we could learn right now the special rule here that we have to do, we're gonna ignore this tanween and we're gonna make with this ya غنة. So it will be من يقول. من. So after I said the meme, I said the ya. من يقول. If this is clear, please let me know in the chat if this rule and the rule of Idhar is all clear. If you don't have any questions about it, can you please let me know in the chat?
Yes, sir. You want us to try?
I will let you try later when we find more about the next rule. I'll let you try some more examples. But before this, is it clear, like the idea of how this actually works? Okay, let me know in the chat. Okay, so I think it's clear, but it's gonna just require some more practicing. So this is inshallah what we're gonna do later. The last thing we're gonna talk about today is the rule of idgham too, but this time idgham without ghunna. So at first we said that we have idgham with ghunna. This time we have idgham without ghunna. Idgham has no ghunna sound. So the idgham without ghunna is applied when noon sakina or tanween followed by ra or lam. If you remember earlier, we said that the word yarmalun, it has all the letters of idgham for us, but we could know that the idgham itself has two types. So from this word, we had four letters for idgham with ghunna, ya, noon, mim, and wa, which we talked about earlier. And I would need you, of course, to remember these letters. And over here we have ra and lam. So that's how we get these six letters when we combine them. They are combined in the rule of idgham, but each one of them is a special rule. We have the first rule was idgham with ghunna, which we talked about just a few seconds ago. And this rule we have here is idgham without ghunna, which is concerned with ra and lam pronunciation when they come after a noon sakina or after a tanween. So how do we do this idgham without gunna? Same thing. Idgham means merging or mixing. We're gonna mix noon sakin or tanween to the next letter, but this time we gonna be making no gunna. So just the merging that we're gonna do. So the result would be just pronouncing one of the letters, one of the two, because when we mix two things together, the result would be just one thing. Same thing we have here. One thing will disappear completely, and we get one thing. Let's find out what this is going to be. So here it's explained for us that the rule of idgham without gunna is to skip the noon sakina or tanween, and no gunna should be applied. So if we look right here, this example, it says here, min ladunna, min ladunna. This is without applying the rule. When we apply the rule, we have to know that we skip the noon sakina. So this is the noon, we skip it. It's not there. We imagine that this is a silent noon. Okay. What else should we do? Nothing. So no gunna applied. So we just say min ladunna, min ladunna after skipping the noon. That's how we read it. Min ladunna. Let's look at this example too. Fasa, fasalamun laka. So naturally, what we will say will be fasalamun laka. But after knowing about this rule, we know that this is a tanween. Fasalamun. We skip it. So we just say fasalamul laka. No tanween pronunciation I made. Fasalamul laka. This example here is also min. So here we have rabbihim. Rabbihim. When we read this, we will say mir rabbihim. Mir rabbihim. Last example here. We're gonna skip the tanween as we can see there's a tanween right here. So we say ra'u ra'ufur rahim. Ra'ufur rahim. Okay. So again, these examples. من لدنا فسلام لك من ربهم رؤوف رحيم. This is the rule of idgham without ghunna. So far we talked about, let's recap quickly. So far we talked about the rules of nun sakina and tanween. We said that we have to apply 4 rules to any nun sakina we read or to any tanween. And these 4 rules were al-idhar, al-idgham, al-iqlab, and al-ikhfa. How can we apply these rules, or what should we do like to apply these rules? Is detailed in every rule. So in every rule we see, we can find that it has a group of letters. This group of letters would represent for us that the rule that we're gonna know, the one we are going to apply, we will know it by looking after the noon sakina or tanween. We will check each group. If that letter falls into one of these groups, then this is going to be the rule that we will apply. We talked about the first rule, which was al-idhar, which means clarity. We did know that we're going to apply it when we read any example that has a noon sakina and tanween followed by hamza ha, ayn ha, ghayn kha, and we said that we're going to make no change to the noon sakina or the tanween. After this, we talked about al-idgham. 2 types for idgham. Idgham with ghunna is the first type. Idgham without ghunna is the second type. First type is you merge the noon sakina into the next letter and you make a ghunna sound. The second type, which is idgham without ghunna, you merge the noon sakina into the next letter, but you make no ghunna sound, so the sound of noon sakina or tanween will be silent. I'm gonna be pulling up some examples so we can practice, or I'll let you some practice, practice some of these examples before we get into the reading that we are going to do to the surah later. 1 second. All right. If anybody has any questions, you can let me know in the chat while I'm getting the examples here.
No, I think Iqlab is little confusing, but I think for me others are okay.
Mhm.
So
But we didn't get into talking about al-iqlab so far, so no worries. We'll talk about it inshallah in our next class. Let's focus on the two that we discussed today. We're gonna talk about iqlab and ikhfa later, inshallah. Okay?
inshallah.
Yeah, we would
Barakallahu.
like just to make sure that you completely understand the rules that we discussed today, which is al-idhar and al-idgham. Okay? So who is ready? Okay, we can start with you, Shiraz.
Yes, sir. Should
Yeah,
I
I'm going
read
to
all
highlight
the 61 things?
not all of them. I'm just going to be highlighting some for you to read, some examples, and I would like you to read them. So let's start by this one.
Man amana
Excellent, mashallah.
masalan fala
Okay, how about this one here?
yawmun asib
MashaAllah. And this one?
wa man khaffat
Okay,
mu'minun khairun.
perfect. Barakallah feek. Thank you. I'll meet you, and I would need Sirajuddin. Would you be able to unmute yourself and read with me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, please. Can you read this one here?
More min khair.
The one I made like a shadow above it here.
Yes, sir.
You see
Yeah,
it?
okay. Yan iku.
Mhm. How about this one here?
It is more min khair.
Yes, mu'minun, mu'minun
Mu'min.
khayrun. Okay, I see that you made the rules of idhar perfectly. You made no change to the noon sakina that we had or the tanween that we had earlier. Okay, Sirajuddin, would you please read this example right here?
Waman ma ahu.
All right, let's get into understanding what we should do when we find an example like this. Here's a noon sakina. What is the
Yeah.
letter that is after a meme that the noon sakina? This letter?
Ma.
This is yeah, there is letter meme. So what
Yeah.
should we do to letter to noon sakina then would be idgham with ghunna. Idgham with ghunna. So and we said that about
So
this rule, but
so
go ahead.
we should ignore the no, noon, right, sir?
Yes, that's one thing. The other thing
Yes.
is making ghunna with this meme. Okay,
Okay.
you can try again.
Yeah. Waman ma'a
That's perfect. وَمَن مَعَهُ. Try it again.
ma'ahu. Okay.
One more time.
Waman ma'ahu.
Perfect. Yeah, we just need to stretch more, maybe a little bit. Okay, I'll give you some
Yes.
example also for idgham also with gunna. How about this one here? This one here.
It's man nasha'ahu.
Excellent. Just stretch more this noon.
Okay.
Man nasha'u. Some more time.
Okay. Man nasha'ahu. Like this, sir?
Yeah, that's like very good, but it's just very short. We need to stretch this noon because that's the whole point of the ghunna sound. Even when you hear famous Quran risalas, they can find them. They are switching sometimes, like they are searching all the time. This noon. Sometimes they
Maybe
even
I
make
can
it too
add
long.
some explain to him a little bit in Urdu. सिराज भाई इसके अंदर नून के ऊपर थोड़ा सा घुमाना है और रुक के वहीं पे घुमाना है ओमन नशा ओमन नशा तस्दीद भी है
Yes,
उसका और वो रूल भी है जो सर ने बोला इदगाम बिल गन्ना वन्ना
Okay. Okay. Woman nasha'ahu. Like this?
yes, that was very good. Okay,
Okay.
how about Chad? Would you be able to also read with me any examples here?
Yeah, inshallah, yes.
Assalamu
All
alaikum.
right, very good. Alaikum assalam. Would you be able to read, please, this example here?
Man wujida. Man wujida.
All right, we skip the noon, remember? We're gonna be skipping the noon here. And we're gonna make this wow with a gun sound.
موجودة.
Excellent. Barakallah feek. Ahsan. How about this example?
من لو وولد
ما لو وولد.
ما لو وولد
Barakallah feek. And last example right here at the bottom.
يومئذ يود.
Very good. Barakallah feek. Excellent. At the end, we can see like there's examples for idgham without ghunna. So in this case, we're gonna ignore the noon sakina or the tanween completely because we have ra and lam after the noon. Would you be able to read this one here?
من رحمه.
Barakallah feek. Ahsan. Okay. So I think the idea is clear now. Everything will be clear for you. The way we're gonna be reading noon sakina and tanween after idhar and after idgham. Does anybody of you have any questions about this? Like about the whole thing we talked about today? You can let me know in the chats. Before we move on to reading, yeah. So let's move to the reading of some short surahs like we did before. Let's do. Okay, Surah Al-Humazah. Let's do it. This one has examples for us that we can practice. Okay, you can let me know in the chat who would like to start.
I can start, sir.
Okay, please, Firaz, you can go ahead and start reading Surah Al-Humazah.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة
Again
نار
here,
الله.
one thing is
Yeah.
وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ.
وما أدراك ما الحطمة قلقلة.
Yeah, the qalqala and making dal light, like ada, not heavy, not
وما
taza. Ada.
أدراك وما أدراك ما الحطمة
That's good.
نار الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة في عمد ممددة.
Excellent. Barakallah feek. Thank you. Okay, Sirajuddin, would you be able to start?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Yeah, remember, I would like to remind you of that. We actually mentioned maybe this like in the first class, just giving some more time to the ra, because this ra, as you know, it has a shadda in ar-Rahman and ar-Rahim. So both these two ra's with shadda, and also the lam in the word Allah has a shadda. So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. That's with more focus.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Very good.
Wailul likulli humazatil humazah.
Humazah. Illumazah.
Humazah.
Lumazah.
Lumazah. Yeah. Allazi jama'a malahu wa adata.
وعدده.
وعدته. يحسب أن
This
المال
one, يحسب.
يحسب أن ماله أخلده. كلا. How do you read this?
لا ينبذن.
لينبذن في أهتمت
في الحطمة.
في الهتمة. Yes, okay.
نعم.
وما أدراك ما الهتمة.
ما الحطمة.
ما الهتمة.
Mhm.
نار الله الموقدة.
Yeah, we have to, link them. So نار الله الموقدة.
نار الله الموقدة
Hmm?
التي تتالي على الأفئدة.
تطلع على الأفئدة.
تتلي على الأفئدة.
على الأفئدة.
الأفئدة.
Mhm.
إنها عليهم موصدة.
Again عليهم.
عليهم موصدة.
Uh-huh.
في في أماد في أماد ممددة.
Yes. ممددة.
مبددة.
بارك الله فيك. Excellent reading. ما شاء الله.
Yeah.
Okay,
There
Chad,
are
last one.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده
One more time, just
كلا
slow.
يحسب أن ماله أخلده
ما له.
ما
That
له
here.
ما
Yes.
له أخلده
Mhm.
كلا لينبذن في الحطمة
في
وما
الحطمة.
أدراك ما الحطمة
Yeah, just the ta here, we make it heavy. It's one of the 7 heavy letters. حطة.
خطأ
Yes. في الحطمة.
بالحطمة
One more
وما
time.
أض في الحطمة
Okay, perfect.
وما أدراك ما الحطمة نار.
أدراك.
Say that again.
Yes. وما أدراك.
وما أدراك ما الحطمة وما أدراك ما
Yes.
الحطمة
The most important thing is not actually the qalqala. The most important thing is reading the dal with a light sound. Ade, not ad, like or ada. Ade.
وما أدر
Just keeping it
أدر
light. Yeah. Yes.
وما أدراك وما
So
أدراك
ada is actually the heavy sound that we would like to avoid. We would like to say adraka. Try it again.
وما أدر
One more time.
وما أدراك
Okay, that's still like a little bit to make it focus more on making it light. The way we can do this,
وما
there's a tip we always do, is to smile while we are saying the dad. Ada, ada. Smiling would
أدر
force me to make it light.
وما أدر
Excellent.
وما أدراك ما الحطمة
Mhm.
حطمة
Yes,
نار
please continue.
الله الموقدة التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها
One
عليه
thing, also the thought here again, تطلع.
تطلع
Yes, very good.
تطلع 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 على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مفسدة في
مؤصدة.
أمد
صاد here is a heavy.
م- مؤصدة
Perfect.
في في أمد ممددة पढ़ के हट क्यों गया
Excellent reading. Barakallah feek. Yes.
नींद नहीं है
ما
नहीं
شاء الله.
नहीं
Okay. So this would be like the reading part for today. Sirajuddin, you wanted to say something? You wanted to ask about something? You can let me know in the chat.
Yes, sir, you are asking me?
Yeah, I was asking you if you have like any questions or something.
No, sir. The only thing which I feel like I should practice more, sir. After the class, I will do that.
Yeah, it's just I think it's just getting more used to the reading. So that's the main concern would be for you for now.
Yes,
Just
sir.
read more and more, which is gonna be like making reading easier for you like by the time, inshallah.
Right. Inshallah.
Inshallah, barakallahu feek. So we're gonna stop here today. You can quickly let me know if you have any questions.
Maybe the other numbers, sir, I will share it with you in the chat so you can, when you're sending the meeting invite, maybe we create a group of these people who are getting more and more permanent.
Uh,
They are informed of the class. It's every Saturday, guys, and every Tuesday, right? 8 p.m.
Yes,
UAE time. Sir is in Egypt. Some
Ustad,
of us are in
one
Dubai.
second, Ustad. If, excuse me, this guy Muhammad, my son, would like to, if you read the same thing, if you can display on the screen, please.
sure, no problem. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, as you said, that's right. I would agree with you. Of course, sharing this with more people would be good. I think that the Telegram channel would have all the notifications that you would need. If you have like any problem with Telegram, maybe we can use WhatsApp to make a group there. But I prefer Telegram because of it's more like kind of easier for more privacy for everybody who would like to join. Like that's my main concern. So Muhammad, you can read now.
السلام عليكم.
Alaikum assalam.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ويل لكل همزة لمزة الذي جمع مالا وعدده يحسب أن ماله أخلده.
Here, same thing. ما له. What I have here is a ha, and I stretch this ha. ما
ماله
له. Yes.
وأخلده.
We don't say this wow. We don't say wa. This wow is just to stretch the dhamma sound. ما له أخلده.
ماله أخلده.
Excellent.
كلا لينبذن في الحطمة وما أدراك ما الحطمة.
Yeah, same thing is أدراك, the dal.
أدراك ما الحطمة.
Mhm.
نار الله الموقدة التي
الموقدة. Try again, please.
الموقدة
الموقى.
الموقدة
Perfect. Mhm.
إن التي تطلع على الأفئدة إنها عليهم مؤصدة في عمد ممددة.
بارك الله فيك يا محمد. Excellent reading. بارك الله فيكم جميعا. All of you. If you have any questions, you can quickly let me know in the chat because we have reached